Another good day at Captain Jack's. I'm here a little later than I usually get. A couple riders are here though. So VFW trailer and some rented truck. Had a fleet plate on it. Nice and moist. Woohoo, yeah. Wow. Gotta watch out for those mountain bikers coming down because it's grippy. Meaning they can go really fast too. So what should we talk about today? What should we talk about? One subject I kind of want to touch on is RidersShare and how that's working out for us. I think it's working out pretty good, considering we just started that with A&M Moto Toys. If you want to run a bike for Colorado that's affordable, then you need to check us out. Now, there's nothing I can do about insurance. I had one guy that was just, man, he wanted to just keep haggling. He's like, well, I'll run it at this price for like 20 days or something. I forget what it was, 20 days, 22 days. And I played around with the various discounts on multi-day, and I got it down to what he wanted, which I think came to like $1,200, or just slightly over $1,200. I'm like, that's pretty dang close. And he comes back and he's like, well, yeah, with insurance and everything, it comes to like $2,000. I'm like, well, that's up to you what insurance you pick. I don't control that. There's nothing about that that I control. Well, can't you get it down to $1,200? I'm like, so you'd get the bike for all that time where I can have 1-day rentals or 2-day rentals and not worry about it. Sometimes you have to draw a red line and stick to it. And I took another couple $100 off, got it down to $1,000. He complained. I left it like that for a little bit, but because it's RidersShare and how it works, anyone could book at that price because that's what the price is, right? So I risked somebody else booking for some cheap rate and me being kind of effed. Because I kind of put a lot of the, I kind of initially spread out the discount between the various days, but then when he wanted the $200 more, I took it off the first day, and it just made it easier. So I did that for this guy. Him and Hawes still complains it's too much because of insurance. I repeat, nothing I can do there. Yes, they charge fees and stuff as you as the customer. I can't do anything on that end. Man, you really want me to take a loss on this, basically, is what I'm thinking. And I don't hear from them for like 4 or 5 hours. Wrong gear. So I don't hear from them for 4 or 5 hours. So I go ahead and take off all the discounts. He comes back with like, hey, the discounts are gone. I tried running it, but my card had an issue and I had to call my bank and this and that, and the song and dance. And my response back was, well, I didn't know you said you didn't want to run it, so I took off the discounts so they're not just sitting there for the next person. And never heard from him again. He probably was like, well, I'm not gonna rent from you now. Well, then you don't get a cheap bike. You know, at the end of the day, I want to rent to you. It's about the money. But at the same time, if you're going to be like that, then I don't know, because you're nickel and diming me already. You're complaining about things I have no control of. I don't know if I really do want to rent to you. I gotta say, for the most part, everyone we have, and for the most part, I mean all of them, all the renters I've had thus far, as of this video, have been awesome, have been epic. They've been friendly people. Some doing dual sport, some want to go on ATV trails. Getting back into riding most usually because they all have motorcycle endorsements, because RidersShare confirms that, and they'll tell you how many times they've rented through them. And I would say most of them are younger and just getting back into, you know, I've ridden before and had a bike and I want to try, you know, some dirt roads or ATV trails or even single track. You can do that. I mean, you're the one at fault if you know, break something. You're the one where the credit card is going to get dinged. That's really not on us. So, you know, whatever. Just bring it back to me the same condition as you rented it. So that's kind of one negative about just people in general, is the silly questions. You know, we get a lot of questions with, I don't have a license, can I still rent one? No. And if you're contacting me through RidersShare, what do you think? It clearly says you need to be 18 and have a motorcycle endorsement. But what's hard about that? Sorry, we don't run outside. I even had one guy that was said something about a photo shoot for a wedding. That one sounded the most suspicious I've gone so far. It's like, sorry, no, not gonna do that. Keep coming. You're good. Just me. But it's like, you want to run a GPX moto for a wedding, for outside, because you don't have a motorcycle endorsement, and you want out, and by outside I meant outside of RidersShare. And I'm just like, no, this too fishy here, because who the heck rents Moto GPX? I mean, I guess I should have come back with like, okay, $5,000 deposit, and just me, thank you. Just me, thank you. Woo. Don't go off the edge. But a $5,000 deposit and whatever the fee to rent it, you know, if I'm not going to be on site, if it's local, well, which it wasn't going to be, it was going to be like Pueblo, so, you know, I'm going to have to charge like $300 destination fee, because waste my time going down there, babysit a bike, and, you know, maybe $300 for the bike shoot. So I don't know, it's still but it's like, are you kidding me? Who rents a GPX? It's not like it's a KTM. And if you are into riding, you're looking for a pristine, something unique bike. I mean, I could see somebody doing that for a Ducati or something, and looking for something that's like, by this point I've already rented the GPX. It was not a new looking bike. And yeah, it's like, why on earth would you even want this bike in some wedding? It just screamed of, I'm going to give you $500 and I'm going to steal the bike, and you're not coming, yeah, you're not recovering it, you know? And that's what it seemed like to me, that, you know. So you do get weird people that want to go outside. Just stick to the, I keep saying outside because I'm, you know, out of breath and not thinking. But outside of RidersShare, you get people that want to go outside of RidersShare. Well, don't do it. Stick to like, nope. I just say this protects me and it protects you. That's why we rent through RidersShare, due to the insurance. And if they understand it, they understand it. If they don't, no loss. So that aspect of RidersShare, as long as you just stick to your guns, you're going to be protected, because you're not going to feel like, well, I have my own insurance. I pay for my own insurance, so, you know, well then you'd be covered anyways, I suppose, because it would be a rental here, sign the contract, and they steal it, as long as you have that type of coverage, which is going to cost more per month than actually RidersShare. That's the funny aspect. And my buddy that has the ATVs and does some dirt bike rentals and stuff, he pays like $1,000 a month for just liability, which just covers him, just so he doesn't get sued. So business insurance, basically. So he has to pay $1,000 a month, no matter if he's renting or not. For RidersShare, they just take a piece of the pie, so we don't pay anything unless it's rented. And it probably comes out to about the same, even if it's a little worse. It's something we as a business don't have to worry about, but they then cover, if the person does steal it, they're covering it. And if they do steal it, it means they went to great lengths to, you know, fraudulent driver's license, put it on a stolen credit card. They had to go through great lengths to steal it through that program. It's not going to just be some two-bit hoodlum that is like, well, you know, if we rent this, we just take it and it's a fake driver's license, we just hand them some cash, we claim, you know, we don't do credit cards, or it's a stolen credit card, or we pay cash and they have the credit card number for if it is, you know, something happens, but it's not a real credit card, so it doesn't matter. So there's definitely aspects of RidersShare that are bad and they're good. And like I said, I kind of highlighted both just there. You know, good being the cost to us as a business is, I think, fair, because it's not something we have to have insurance on if we're not renting. Bad is just kind of the customers you deal with. Now, the other bad thing with RidersShare that I hear they're improving, but it's taking a long time, for a program that deals with, you know, renting your motorcycle, just like Toro is renting your car. I don't know why they only have a web app, so you know, website, versus having a dedicated app. So in their website, which is not an app, is kind of confusing, especially for your first time. And your first time, you get these conflicting emails that say different things to do. You know, I don't know how strict it is to take a picture of the driver's license next to the odometer, which that does make sense to me. But if you happen to forget it or something, I mean, we know who rented it. I'm still doing the check-in, check-out, and if they do the check-out, you know, then it's pretty clear they rented it. So I don't know. And then you have woohoo! Losing my train of thought here. So the app, they need an app, a dedicated app. Uploading the pictures kind of stink. Having internet connection to do the check-in, check-out process stinks. That's just another thing that just, quite frankly, stinks. The easiest way to do it is actually just take the photos, and I usually take like a ton of them. I'm connected to my Wi-Fi, so I got a fast upload, single, and I uploaded. Apparently there's no limit on how many photos, so, you know, I take tread depth, close-up of tires, I take you know, close on the bikes, far away of the bike, just to kind of show the overall, like, try to show the overall condition. Okay, you could see where that might be the complicated issue and filing a claim. Like, well, we can't tell if there's scratches in the photo. I've had renters ask me, like, well, do I, because they don't have good internet, and they're like, hey, they're like, hey, do I need the photos? I'm like, well, it's for your safety, so it's up to them at the end of the day. But the needing the internet right then and there kind of stinks. It'd be nice if it was an app that they could take the photos, and if they don't have internet at my house or whatever, so I don't really want to give them my Wi-Fi password, but I might set up a guest network so then they could, like, log in, right? So they could actually log in and be like, hey, you know, and be able to upload. So it would benefit them, just a convenience for them, because I've had a few where they could click the thing, but they couldn't get the pictures to upload. I'm like, yeah, I have trouble as it is, and I'm on my Wi-Fi. So, yeah. Again, it's a very confusing thing. And everything they don't tell you is, like, okay, like our first row, like, totally forgot to have the customer do the checkout. So I was like, oh no, you know, and then I emailed him, he's like, blah, blah, blah. And he tried to do the checkout, and it was an older guy, and he couldn't figure it out, and this and that. And so the next morning I just called, and RidersShare said, you know, it protects them, but they don't have to do it. We just time it out for your payment. So instead of saying you just received $90, they will say it will take, I guess, until the rental period ends, and then it will default that the rental has ended and this is how much you earned. Okay, like, nothing tells you that. So, you know, you get that guy that, our first ones were, you know, we were still learning, our first couple. Alright, trying to remember all the steps. And now I have it down. And it's just a learning process like anything. And again, it's once you learn their procedures, but their flow could work better. And I told the person that, I said, well, A, if you had an app, and B, if the wording was better on what we were doing. I was like, when it said check in, I got that kind of confused. I thought that was checking in for the rental, which we had already did, but no, that was checking out or whatever. I forget which way it goes, but it was yeah, it just the wording. He goes, yeah, we definitely need a lot of work on our site, and I've told the guys, and they don't really listen to me. That needs to be changed because they don't hear it coming from the customer. So they were pretty truthful, and they every time I've called them, they've been extremely nice. Because I've had to call them for a few things like, we don't understand why this is not working. And they answer the question and they pick up, and so that's extremely nice. And they ride too, because then we started talking about just riding in general. So very nice people, very helpful. And as I said, the runners have been fine. There has been no issues. A lot of the runners, how many miles they put on bike, that's what I was afraid of initially. You're gonna get some iron butters that like are gonna put on 300 miles a day and run it for like a week, you know? And I suppose that could happen. I suppose if you're chatting with somebody about what they plan to do with the bike, and they say, well, I'm gonna go from here to here, look it up, and if it seems like a lot of miles, just be like, oh, well, you know, change your limit before they book it to, you know, 250 miles or whatever you feel comfortable with, you know, just so they're not like iron butting it, because that could be a possibility. Now, these aren't street bikes, so I don't really have that concern. Probably more power to you if you could actually ride 300 miles a day for 4 days on a seat. I've been there, I've done it, but that's taking dedication. I'll tell you, that's not everybody there. And most people that are doing that are going to be using their own motorcycles because they're just comfortable on their own ride. They know their own ride. They know it's going to work. We have had no bike issues, and the more we rent, eventually that's going to occur, and we'll cross that boundary. I mean, I guess the best is, hey, you got to ride 20 miles and you're out in Rampart and the bike had an issue and I had to go get it. I'm not charging you, go get it, because, you know, the bike broke down. And I confirmed that upon getting the bike, possibly picking them up too. Hopefully they don't walk away. They just can get a hold of me, because at the end of the day, it's their responsibility to return the bike, even if that means they tow it, which I'd rather, if it's local, they don't do, because that means, well, I'm gonna have to reimburse them money. You know, I don't even want to get into that situation. But I also feel like you're running a bike. I can't, you know, there's things that on any bike could happen. Flat tires, chain, I don't know, something weird, you know? And I kind of feel like you're riding on a trail that you would have had issues with any bike possibly, so if you had to tow it out or you had to do something to secure the bike, that's on you. Just like if I'm borrowing a friend's bike, I'm gonna, you know, do whatever I can do to get that bike back to them, or if it's my bike. Right? That's just the nature of the beast when it comes to riding, especially when you're riding stuff like this or ATV trails. When you're getting remote, I mean, anything can happen to you and the bike. So I believe it's up to you. And RidersShare kind of does say that, and I don't know if kind is the right word. I think they absolutely do say that, you know, like, I know they say it on my end as far as yeah, they absolutely do say, you know, if, you know, something happens to the bike that's from you riding it, it's just as if you're riding, you know, you're riding your own motorcycle. And I, as a runner, if it's something that's out of the, like, I'm not going to charge a runner for the chain falling off, for example, or chain breaking, because it broke, and that would have happened even if I was riding it. But they still have a duty to secure the bike, just like as if they borrowed it. So, I mean, we haven't had any issues, so we'll see. Eventually we will, and hopefully we've had a lot more rentals down by then. And, you know, if somebody needs reimbursed a few bucks, then we can make that happen. Right now, if I had to do that, it's like, you know, outside of the rental being reimbursed, I don't know. You know, I don't really necessarily have the funds there to give you anything back. But, you know, we see what we could do, and like I said, cross that bridge when we get there, and it wouldn't be a big deal. I could make something happen, but I don't want somebody to watch this video and be like, oh, hey, he said he would. No, it's case by case basis, and we would see. So overall, RidersShare has been good. I think it's a good way to go, and it will be more interesting once we start doing two-stroke bikes, because you have to have everything plated, so we get it plated and everything, and you rent the bike, like if I rented my Beta out or something, and you know people are hitting single track. You know they're going to. because it's a two-stroke. You're not dual sporting it. I mean, maybe the person is newer and will go to a ATV trail, but they're gonna hit a ATV trail and single track. That's what they're gonna do. There's more chances that the bike's gonna fall over. Now, we're pretty easygoing so far, and this policy could change down the road, that like scratches and stuff. Little stuff like that we don't care about. Like I say, as long as parts aren't hanging off the bike, I personally don't care. Yeah, I don't really care if there's light scratches and stuff. You know, one of my worst rentals I had done being a customer was a snowmobile. This was years ago, before we lived here in Colorado, so way before 2007, so probably 2005 maybe, 2004. So the wife's family, her father, sister, brother, so we would all come out here. He'd bring us all out here to go skiing, snowboarding. The one year he rented snowmobiles, and you know, we're just following. We're not doing anything crazy, and I just kind of slid down into what would it be called, like a snow well around a tree, and the front of the snowmobile had the smallest, barely could see scratch. Oh, well, our tour guide who was with us was like, oh, he obviously took note of that because he's there. He was like, oh, a little scratch. It's not a big deal though. So we get back, turn them in. Oh, I mean, no, none. I'm so used to other people. Like, why am I throwing singles? So yeah, I had a little scratch on the front hood of the snowmobile. Nothing major, nothing, and it was on a sticker, not even the plastic. So, you know, we just check it in before, and then they didn't say anything about it. So, you know, we line them up. Father-in-law signs out and everything. And a couple weeks later, they dinged his credit card for $225. Well, you damn well know they did not replace the sticker. You know they did not replace the plastic because of the scratch. So it's not like they charged like $10 or something, because you know they're not replacing any of that. They charged $220. What a rip-off place. It was some snowmobile company up by Breckenridge or Keystone, in that area. For the most part, that is the same area. But yeah, up there. I wish I remembered them, because if I knew who they were, I'd definitely shout out their name. Even if it could be a different owner, they could like then say, hey, different owner. But it was ridiculous. So I don't want to be that person that's like, oh my god, there's a little scratch. I don't care. I know it happens. We're not just as long as things aren't dangling off the bike. So I think that will make us better than other rental places too that nitpick that crap. And it's a shame that places do that. Because it gives just a bad rental experience. You're definitely not going to be a repeat customer, or how we've treated people. I think they'll be repeat customers. Oh, and the thing I'd never really fully touched on is mileage. So you can probably wonder, how many miles does a renter put on it? Anywhere from 20 miles to like 30, 40 miles. That seems to be the norm. Like I had one guy that rented it for multiple days. He put on 20 miles. It rained and whatnot, and he was with family, so he wasn't going to totally be riding, you know. And so talk about easy money, right? The bike just basically sat there, and yeah, I made easy money on something that could have sat in my garage or be rented. I mean, think about it that way. You know, that's when I went on about the iron butt stuff, but I don't think there's much fear there, because I think it all works itself out as averaging, you know? had somebody put on like 100 miles or 120 miles. Whoopie-doo. When you got other people putting on only 20 and 30, who cares? You know, I'm sure the average out on that is probably not bad. I'm trying to now have a spreadsheet and keep track of all that stuff. The date, the money amount that it was rented, the amount I got paid out, or we got paid out, Aaron and I, and you know, I need to break that down more if they rent a helmet or the hitch carrier, because it's nice to keep track of all that. It makes it easier keeping track of expenses too, like the initial purchase of the bike, how much it cost to set it up initially, because you know we bought hand guards and longer shift levers, because the ones that comes with the GPX are just annoyingly short, and I wish GPX would change that, but that should be a different video. So RidersShare is working out. I've said that numerous times. Hopefully this video is not too long. Gives you some info on if you want to rent your bike out. I would say, if you can, buy a second bike so you don't have anxiety about your primary bike being rented. That's why I don't want to rent this one, this two-stroke, until I buy another two-stroke. So that way I always have a two-stroke bike on hand, right? For myself, I can be like, nah, you know, I'm gonna block this one out for this week or whatever for myself. So hopefully this gave you some ideas and some tips, and I shared some of my aggravations and whatnot, and and the amount of money. So on my side of things, right now they're listed at $120 a day. Multiple days you get discounts, but we'll say $120 a day unless the longer you go, and I'm going to do a little bit better if it's a very long-term rental. I can play around with the figures. Unfortunately, I can't just give you a code or anything. That would be a lot easier if I could do that. And then, you know, you could just take off 30% and or whatever, 25%, and you know, that way I could set up some like vet stuff, veterans, you know, or first responders, maybe a certain month of the year, like, hey, you know, you guys get a discount. But yeah, it's so anyways, hopefully this gave you tips and tricks. Maybe not so much tricks, but hopefully this gave you tips, and you know, you might buy a bike and rent it out. I'm okay with that. Competition's good, you know. Competition is a good thing. And you might not want to do this type of bike. Maybe you're into dual sport or adventure or street bikes. You know, you'll definitely have a bigger audience with street bikes, but you also have more risk, right? You're more likely that you're going to have somebody eventually get injured, which hopefully that's where, you know, RidersShare steps up if they try, so you can be like, and provide a lawyer like, no, you know, you rented it, you're at fault. You know, we have a picture of you with a helmet or other gear even, and not gonna fly. It's your fault. You know, it could have happened to anybody. I mean, that's where I would worry about street bikes. Off-road bikes, people seem to be a little bit more honest and nice, and it's not as many yahoos out there looking to just rent something to go see how fast it can go. So you all take care, stay well, stay safe, and if you want a rental, check out A&MMototoys.com. We're also on Facebook, on YouTube, although I haven't done any YouTube videos as of yet, but check us out and we'll work with you. Have a good one. Stay well, stay safe, my friends. Bye.